All right, today we're going to dig into a new kind of global competition. And this one isn't fought with tanks and plans on a battlefield. No, it's fought deep inside the supply chains that, well, power our entire modern world.
I mean, think about that for a second. For as long as we can remember, right, we've measured power in barrels of oil or in the strength of financial markets. But what if the real currency of power in the 21st century is something totally different? Something hidden, literally right under our feet. Because we're not just talking about any old metals. These are the absolutely essential, can't live without them ingredients for everything. From our global communication networks to the entire green energy transition. You could say the whole future of tech is built on this stuff. So, okay, let's pull back the curtain and see what these hidden assets actually are. We're talking about a very unique, very strategically important group of materials. They're called rare earth elements.
Okay, so the name rare earth, it's actually a little bit of a misnomer, kind of misleading. Geologically speaking, they're not that rare. The real trick, the thing that creates all the power and leverage, isn't finding them. Oh no, it's the incredibly difficult, super complex process of refining them. Turning them into the ultra-pure forms that all our high-tech gadgets need.
So why are they called the fuel for the future? Well, it's simple, really. Because without these elements, the kind of technological progress that we just take for granted every day, it would just stop. It would grind to a halt.
Just think about the smartphone you're probably holding right now, or the device you're watching this on. Think about the powerful magnets inside electric cars and massive wind turbines, or the super sophisticated guidance systems that are critical for national defense. All of these things, they seem so different, but they all share this one common, critical dependency on this small group of elements.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. Whenever a resource becomes this vital, the big question is always, who's in charge? Who controls it? And when we start to map out the geography of control for rare earths, a very, very clear picture starts to form.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Look at this concentration. It is just staggering. This isn't about who can dig the most stuff out of the ground. It's all about who has the industrial muscle to actually process it. And that number, wow. A single nation, China, is refining something like 85% of the entire world's supply.
This table here really just drives that point home. You see countries like the US and Australia, they're major miners of these raw ores. But what do they do with it? They often have to ship that raw material somewhere else to get it processed. The control isn't just in owning the mine, the real strategic power is in owning the refinery.
What this does is it creates a massive critical choke point in the global supply chain. This whole complex journey that these materials take has basically become a new kind of battleground, where your industrial capacity directly translates into geopolitical power.
And this just lays it out perfectly. It's this three-stage journey, right? From the ground to the gadget in your hand. Now, you can be great at step one, the mining part. But if you don't control step two, that super complex processing, you are completely, fundamentally dependent on whoever does. And when you have the entire planet's advanced technology sector, not to mention our green energy goals, all relying so heavily on one single, concentrated point in the supply chain, well, that introduces a huge systemic risk. And it's one that governments and economies are only just now really starting to wake up to. So what does this all lead to? It leads to a fundamental shift in power. The very definition of what makes a country powerful is being rewritten. It's not about the old metrics anymore. It's about who has access to and who controls these absolutely essential resources.
This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures the feel of this new era we're entering. The fight for influence, for dominance in the 21st century, it might be less about military might and much more about the quiet, strategic control over the very materials that are building our future.
So it really leaves us with this one huge question to think about, right? In a world that is completely built on these invisible, yet totally essential metals, the countries that master this new resource game, well, they're going to have a serious, decisive edge. So you have to ask yourself, in this new era, who really holds the power?